we're able to say, hey, here's my documents, AI, take care of this and give me the outcome of that. And then I'm going to apply my creativity and my quality kind of lens to that to make sure that it's better. Conversation needs to shift to how do we use these documents and this process really around capturing new business in a more strategic way and make it more fundamental. AI is just getting better and better. It's just improving at such a rapid speed and a rapid rate. The adage is AI is the worst that it will ever be today. It's just going to improve and get better. And I think over time, that trust level will increase around it, where we will be happy to hand off more of those compliance checks to AI. It is an evolution.
Hey, Ray. Thank you so much for being on the Stargazy Brief. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Chris, it's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me on this.
Yeah, I know the vast majority of people listening to this know who you are. You're the CEO of QorusDocs. And QorusDocs has been around for, it's been since like 2012. Like you're one of the very first out there. So you've just been a staple in this industry. But I know that, of course, since 2012, you've seen so many changes in the market, like the proposal industry, proposal tech. Like, what do you think is the most exciting thing or the most interesting thing that proposal people should be aware of right now that you're seeing probably even better than the rest of us are?
Well, I'm going to go to the cliched AI kind of answer to that question because it genuinely is making a substantial change to what's happening there. And I think what's been interesting over that journey is to see how AI has gone from machine learning kind of in the late 2010s into generative AI a few years back, which was great. It just added huge benefit to us. But now with the agentic capabilities that we're seeing, where we've seen a huge gain from that is really around adoption, right? And being able to use software, because in the past, we all had to learn, open this, click that, upload that, do that thing. And now we're able to say, hey, here's my documents, AI, take care of this and give me the outcome of that. And then I'm going to apply my creativity and my quality kind of lens to that to make sure that it's better. And we just see that reasoning capability from these AI agents improving substantially. I think we felt it in our personal lives as we jumped from, ChatGPT 5.1 to 5.2. It's a significant jump in its ability to reason. So that's where I'm excited to see how this technology improves and how I can just take more of the mundane tasks away from folks spending time in documents and move us towards a creative, strategic mindset around bidding proposals.
Yeah, and kind of taking a different lens on this. I mean, you're the CEO of a serious software company, and you are speaking to other CEOs, sales leaders, managing partners of other really large companies. And I'm wondering what you're seeing behind closed doors that they're saying about RFPs, about proposal teams, that would be really good for us to hear as proposal leaders.
Well, I think that everyone that I speak to recognizes how critical this function is. I don't think that they understand how strategic the function is at this point in time. And I think one of the areas that we're working very hard every time we're in one of those closed door conversations is to move the discussion from, hey, RFPs and proposals are kind of like this thing that we have to do, but we don't really want to do them, to, hey, here's an opportunity as part of the broader, more kind of capture process to really drive strategy into these customers. Very often, you'll hear about RFPs when there's risk associated with those RFPs, or when there's a loss associated with that RFP in a big account that we thought we should have won. But the conversation needs to shift to how do we use these documents and this process really around capturing new business in a more strategic way and make it more fundamental. So there is a shift taking place behind those closed doors, but it needs to happen faster.
Yeah, I mean, I see this in conversations with almost every sales leader that I've ever spoken to. It is having to take it away from, hey, a proposal team is a cost center, to being a strategic revenue generating center. and it is a hard conversation to have with them and to convince them otherwise. So I'm wondering what you've seen is that we can use as proposal leaders as a way to help them see it from that side. Like what argument or data point should we be bringing up in conversations with them to change their mind?
I think that what needs to happen is that we need to insert ourselves earlier into the end-to-end process, right? And as we do that, the win themes and the strategies around how do we get that customer start to develop collaboratively with the sales team or the winner doer or the attorney that's doing that type of work, and see this as a collaborative effort to actually win that versus, hey, let me hand off to the bid team or the pitch team or the proposal team kind of when I need them right at the end. It needs to form part of that kind of strategic capture process over there. So we know that when that happens, the opportunity to win increases, right? Because it's a cohesive, collaborative effort to actually go and win that client or renew that client or grow that client, whatever the situation might be.
No, I just, it's hard to do though. Like I
It
feel
is
like
hard.
proposal people sometimes like understandably struggle to do it because there is such a misconception around it, and so it's hard to change their mind. But I think that's a really good point.
Just one of the tools that we're seeing in that space as well is in many cases the proactive proposal part of what we do is a critical capability there. And if we can start introducing right at the proactive, or if you're in legal, like capability statement pitch, if you're in AEC, some of those kind of smaller proposals, start introducing some of these disciplines into the proactive element, it gets more exposure, and then that flows through into the RFP bid, bigger type initiatives as well. So that's another area that could be used to just build out that mindset and ethos inside of the firm towards collaboration between proposal and the business development efforts.
Yeah. Have you seen specific companies where this or firms where this has been done really well and really effectively by the bid or proposal team?
So we're seeing a lot of our law firm clients shifting more towards the proactive elements of what happens there and empowering, enabling kind of the practitioners to be able to do that. And that builds trust early in that process there, kind of ties everybody in early in that. Now, a lot of it is system driven. So how do we enable a lawyer to be able to generate a capability statement themselves without involving the bid team or the pitch team or the proposal team? But the proposal team still owns that space.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where that trust develops, because now they're getting a capability statement through a voice-led AI agent produced within seconds, and they're totally buzzed about that. And it's an awesome document, and they trust that process. Now they're excited about that process.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such a good point. Why it can be difficult for proposal and pitch teams to do this, though, is because, RFPs are really serious, especially in AAC and legal. You have really specific requirements, mandatory requirements that you have to build out, and you have to follow them really closely. And so being like focusing on that process, focusing on that compliance, if you don't do it right, of course, like you're not going to get shortlisted, you're not going to win. So that focus is really important. But that doesn't, just because you are compliant doesn't mean you're going to score really well on that proposal, right? It's just kind of like the bare minimum. So
Right.
That's kind of my long way of asking you, like, are you seeing proposal and pitch teams focusing too much on compliance or on the wrong things that are stopping them from getting that shortlist or getting that win?
I think that's a historical problem that's absolutely been there. I think that's where the opportunity around AI lies, because AI can take care of managing and validating some of those compliance requirements. And I believe that what will happen is that over time, as compliance becomes easier because we're being helped to do that with AI, it'll allow bid and proposal teams to focus on the more value elements of those RFPs and proposals and bring those kind of win strategies and benefits earlier into that discussion, because they're spending less time stressing about, is this thing compliant? Have we answered every single question? Are we going to score well on this? So it's critical that we get there as quickly as possible. But, we need the technology to move to help us get that compliance piece right. And we need the adoption to happen as well. And then that'll free us up to focus on those value elements of what we do.
I completely agree with you. However, I've spoken to so many proposal people and proposal leaders, and not just even proposal leaders, like sales leaders who don't trust AI proposal tech or software to do that compliance at all. They just say, like, you can run it through, but then you still need to have a human look at every single point themselves. And therefore it doesn't really save a lot of time. So what would you say to those people?
Well, I say two things. I mean, firstly, I would agree with them in some aspects of what they're saying. And QorusDocs, we absolutely advocate having humans check everything, right? It's human in the loop right now. So that is critical. But a human checking output is very, very different to, a human having to do the whole process. It's like working with a lawyer. It's much easier to give a lawyer a document and ask them to redline that than ask them to write the document, right? So the redlining, we see that redlining or that checking still as a productivity gain in that process. We don't see that that's almost as much effort as doing it, non-AI. But the second point is, and I think we all know this, it's been said over and over, AI is just getting better and better, right? It's just improving at such a rapid speed and a rapid rate. So, the adage is AI is the worst that it will ever be today, right? It's just going to improve and get better. And I think over time, that trust level will increase around it, where we will be happy to hand off more of those compliance checks to AI and make the shift. It is an evolution.
So if people are using, QorusDocs or a different software to be handling these compliance, and so they're able to then focus their time on strategy, which I hope people are doing, then what are you seeing get those teams to a win? Like what types of strategy are they focusing on? Is it like the data that they're putting into the response to boost the criteria rate? Like what are you seeing, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of areas that we see a stronger focus on. One is evidence, right? Making sure that we have the very best evidence of the why in that proposal. So let's use a tangible example, right? If you're a AEC firm or a law firm, you're going to want to include CVs, bios, resumes, case studies, representative experience in those areas. Now, AI is going to do a great job of finding up, like, hey, here's a whole bunch of options that you have. Your job then is going to be able to say, look, based on what I know about this customer and my human empathetic resonance with the customer, these are the options that I feel are best to pick. And then let's tailor and shape that evidence to support that particular client and what's really important to them. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, more time spent on value, right? On benefits, the why, and even the financial reasons that those benefits will accrue. And we've seen this at QorusDocs as we've used, value management tools ourselves. And I think everyone probably knows that we acquired a value management company last year, because we believe so strongly in this, is if you're able to present a really strong business case and ROI narrative early in the sales cycle, and then anchor onto that throughout all the documents, including the RFP, it drives up the probability of win, because we're not just talking about feature functionality or lawyer XYZ. We're talking about why. Why does this matter to you? What are the real benefits that will accrue to you? from going with us as a firm or in choosing this particular service that we might be offering or product.
That's a really great way of saying how to respond to an RFP to get a high win rate. But then there comes that moment before you start responding and start doing that answer planning. Especially if you have like 5 to 10 RFPs coming in. Let's say you're super busy. Even with a tool like QorusDocs, you don't have time to respond to everything. Are there like early signals that show you what a good RFP is to respond to? Like if I have to make those decisions.
Well, are we talking bid no bid type scenarios?
Yes, 100% qualification. How do I not even qualification necessarily. Like even before that qualification, are there signals I should be looking at for an RFP that should then drive that qualification decision?
I think it starts really with the relationship. So if we're talking AEC, legal, those are heavily relationship-based type industries where that relationship's key. Now, the struggle with relationship-based industries like that is that a lawyer has built a relationship over years with a prospective client. This prospective client now wants them to respond to an RFP, and the lawyer has some connection now. That relationships kind of work both ways, and they really want to bid on this or to respond to that RFP, which makes it very difficult in that kind of bid no bid, because very often it's just overruled. Let's not even look at the data. We're making a decision based on the relationship at this point. But I think what we've seen in those kind of industries is that showing a kind of a retroactive view on, hey, you asked us to bid on this. We did. We lost, or we did, and it wasn't profitable. And let's take a look across all, the last 6 months and see where the relationship is forced to bid to happen. What's been the outcome? And that kind of moves that conversation around into more analytical analysis of, should we actually be responding to this RFP? Should we actually be producing this pitch around it? So I think the process in relationship-based industry starts almost with taking this like backward look to say, what have actually been the results of you forcing us into these bids, and then trying to build trust through that process and whatever bid no bid process is in place and what those key metrics might be. So I think that's a key one. I can go on a bit about that, but let me pause there.
No, okay. So I agree that I think it's so easy. I don't think this is just like a legal or AEC thing. I've seen this across industries where, you have a salesperson who maybe has a relationship with a company, and they're like, we have to go for this. Like, we have to, because I know them. But all the other evidence proves that you're not going to win. Like, that's just not enough to win. And so you then have to build out that qualification matrix of what that's going to look like for that go no go decision. And of course, it's like you're saying, it's going to be different for every single company, like what that data back decision is going to look like, why you win, why you don't win, things like that. But are you seeing anything across the board of what helps? Like, is there like a something that's true for everybody about what should be on a go no go decision or qualification matrix?
Well, I mean, one of the things, and we apply this at QorusDocs, like no one wants to be RFP fodder, right? Like no. You're the third vendor in the room. I think that's like the first flag that we even apply is, have we ever spoken to this person before? Now, I know that's not true in every industry, because sometimes there are industries where you tender without a previous relationship, but certainly in kind of the spaces that we tend to focus on, that's almost the number one kind of disqualifying factor is, do we have a past relationship with this company or this firm to be able to move ahead and bid through that process there. I think the other areas that are useful is, as we scan through that initial RFP document, there may be some immediate disqualification factors that show up in that document that AI will synthesize out for you. And I've often seen cases where people are like, let's just ignore that because maybe that's not that, that important, and let's still move ahead. But we really have to take a very strong look at that process and those pieces there and factor that highly in any score and matrix that we might have.
Yeah, have you seen an industry where not having a relationship is important? Because I'm curious, like what those might be.
I have seen some industries like, kind of more government level industries where there's just, bid, and it's more of a pricing kind of
That's
bid
true.
versus a depth of relationship type area. But, I want to come back to just a difference between, let's say, a software company and a law firm or an AEC firm.
Yeah, of course.
In a law firm, you have like a senior lawyer who has so much credibility, and they're kind of like this hotshot lawyer there, and possibly as as a partner in that firm as well.
Like a
So
managing
carries quite a
partner.
bit of weight, right? Yeah. So like
Yeah.
a very senior person. It's quite in my experience, it can be quite a lot more challenging convincing that person to not go ahead with an RFP or a particular pitch
Yeah.
than, let's say, a salesperson in an organization, even if it is the rainmaker salesperson, just because of the authority levels and how those law firms are structured, with the actual lawyer being a partner in that firm, kind of forcing the direction of that RFP.
Oh, absolutely. Like I think of a CR or like a managing partner is like a equivalent of a CRO,
Right.
CEO level,
Yeah.
almost like some sort of exec level. So yeah, I mean, for people who are working with that level of person, and they're given this RFP, they don't have time to respond to it, but they say you have to respond to it. Like we're going with this. Is it worth the proposal team pushing back or the pursuit team pushing back, or like what would your suggestion be for that person?
I would absolutely say that it's worth pushing back. And I would do my best to push back with data points on that RFP, but I would expect to be told to do it still. And that's why, I'm building up kind of more of a pattern to say, you've asked us to do 10 of these in the last year. Look at the results. This is where it's been great. And I would lead with that. Like, we really nailed these ones. These ones we didn't nail. And here's the reasons why. So next time I come to you with this, I need you to trust me that this is not going to work well. It's a tough conversation. I don't want to minimize it by any
No,
means.
it's definitely tough.
It's a tough conversation, but I think it has to happen. And I think, over time, hopefully those senior people can see the reasoning in what happens. But yeah, there's no guarantees.
I just think like this is kind of a side note, but I feel like it'd be way more difficult to have that conversation with a managing partner as opposed to a CRO. Because my assumption is that they're really good at asking the right questions and kind of they're a lawyer, like a really good lawyer if they're managing partners. So that'd be a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Like
Yeah.
the cross examination on that. Oof, I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
But we do have a couple of law firm clients that have really done a great job with this, and I'll never forget a webinar that I did with one of them, and we were talking about the value of AI, and it was this discussion about, okay, AI is going to save you so much time, so you can do more RFPs or you can put out more pitches, and she point blank said, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to put out more RFPs. I don't want to do more tenders. I just want to do the right ones that we're going to win, right? And that's absolutely makes sense. Like we've got to use AI to free us up to build the ones that we're going to win. In some industries, I get it. We've got to do more, and they're more transactional industries where you just popping these things out. But
Right.
in the spaces that we work, it's really about that quality. So it does come down to qualification.
That's the type of person I want to work for. So
yeah, she's awesome.
If she's ever hiring, you should put that out there so the proposal folks can be like, yes, I want to work for her. And that kind of goes with my next question, because it is about AI for proposal teams. Because almost everyone who is listening to this, that they've used AI for responding to RFPs. And a lot of the complaints that we see, and they're good complaints, is that AI is generating a lot of the same answers. Like it sounds the same. So your response is going to sound the same to your competitor's response and their competitor's response. So how would you suggest proposal teams make their answers really stand out while still using AI?
I think there's a couple of areas that we see. Firstly, many of our clients do not want AI doing the writing. They want it finding my boilerplate content that I've written, right? And they prefer the boilerplate to the AI written stuff. In fact, our search sequence goes something like this. Go look for boilerplate first. Present the boilerplate back to that answer. Only if there is no boilerplate that we cannot use, then move towards an AI-derived answer from anything else we can find that might be in the library. And then the third step might be go look back through past RFPs and see if there's anything there. So boilerplate wins in some of these areas. Now, that's fine when you're doing something like a flood water risk assessment methodology. Boilerplate's good for that. But really where the time and energy needs to be spent is those things like the executive summary parts of what's done. And there, one of the things that we encourage is instead of AI writing the executive summary, have AI write the writer's notes, right? So it's actually not writing the final or the output piece. It's writing the guidance for you. So here's some things that we know about this client that you should write towards. Here's a couple of research points that are going to be useful for you. And have AI kind of give you the guidance, but then you build out that executive summary. And that comes back to having that empathy with that client, knowing them really, really well, and understanding very clearly the value, the benefits, the why, and incorporating it into those elements like the executive summary, into those kind of compelling sides of what's written into a typical RFP.
That does not surprise me at all. I feel like especially with the type of customers who use QorusDocs or teams who use QorusDocs, the level of writing has to be incredibly high. The quality of writing has to be incredibly high. Are you seeing them use AI to generate anything else that has been useful to them or has saved them time other than the writing?
Well, yeah,
and what you just mentioned as well.
Yeah, so it's writing the documents, but where we see probably even greater use of AI is just in the process around the actual writing. It's the evaluation. Should we bid on this thing? It is just give me, RFPs come in all shapes and sizes. I want a standard way of looking at that RFP. So make sure I've got a standardized summary so that I can compare RFP to RFP in a standard way as it comes in. What questions, clarifying questions, should we be asking on this RFP based on what we've done in the past? It's the processes around that we're seeing a huge amount of use of AI to kind of drive the end to end. And then the writing's a piece of that, right? It's a very important piece, but it's the process around that. One more thing I'll just say is that when you're a law firm, an AEC firm, or a professional services firm pitching, the words are incredibly important, but the aesthetics of those documents are absolutely critical.
Yep.
How that pitch document looks and feels it's not equally important to the words, but it's highly important to the words that are said. The ability to attach images, to put call-outs into those documents, to use the right color schemes and the right layouts and write that document in a way that's visually compelling is really critical in the industries that we serve and we focus on. And so enabling that and facilitating that is another key part of what we see as important to a winning document.
Yeah, it's so interesting because almost every other industry, other than the ones you just mentioned, the way a proposal looks is becoming less and less important.
Right.
And yeah, so but in AAC legal professional services, you're right, it's going up. Like that's going to be the differentiator
Right.
going forward. So it's really, I'm curious like how AI is going to help with that in the future, whether it's using AI to generate some of those images or completely staying away from AI generated images to help you stand out. And I don't know if you have any thoughts around that.
Well, we don't see a couple of interesting things. So firstly, we see AI producing images that tell a human designer the elements of this image that we want to see in it. So we don't see AI producing finalized images. We see AI kind of producing ideation around images. That's one piece. Most of the time, though, in terms of images, the images that are being used are from a library of images, right? And it's about finding the right image and putting that image in at the right position. But if we take it like AEC, and both AEC and legal are very visual kind of industries, an AEC team will put the draft document together in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, and it's very wordy and it's very kind of, about verbiage and narrative in that world. And then once they've done that, it often goes into a design team where someone uses a tool like Adobe InDesign to then take that and make that look like a brochure, right? And that's the RFP response. It looks like a brochure when it goes back out. It's got images of buildings in it. It's got timelines and Gantt charts in it. It's got pricing tables that already pop out. So there's visually compelling pieces, and it's a multi-step process to actually get there.
Yeah, there's a reason why the designers I hire are all from AEC backgrounds because they make things look good.
Because they do have great skills for that.
Shout out to my AEC friends. That also goes to minutes. This is all kind of connecting, but it's just when it comes to evaluation and scoring, like the procurement teams who are looking at our responses, they're using AI now too. It's not just us as proposal folks. And so what are you seeing from your side, like as a CEO, of how it's changing evaluation and scoring, or is it not really changing that much right now?
No, it's definitely changing. I think it's easy to evaluate, or it's getting easier to evaluate and score using AI, the more transactional components of the documents that we write. Is this technically accurate and technically feasible? And I actually see a future where many of the questions that we're getting served up today that are of a more transactional baseline, they're not strategic questions. They're like, we need the checkbox that this is required and you do this, right? We see a future where maybe that's not even passed through the documents that are flowing backwards and forwards around RFPs, right? Those are like almost agent to agent conversations that are taking place on the transactional elements of what we're done. But more and more emphasis in our industry is being placed on the executive summary, the strategic why questions that are asked in that. And that I cannot see moving away, because to some extent, those are not scored answers. Those are felt answers to those questions. Yeah. Like some business person's reading that and it's moving them in a particular direction around that. So kind of in summary, transactional pieces, absolutely see AI scoring, and eventually see a world where it's AI to AI on the transactional pieces, on the whys and the strategic and what makes us different and how do we stand out. Those pieces, human to human, through a written narrative or some kind of proposal.
So then, like you're kind of saying, like the future proposal manager role as being more strategic, because AI is going to handle more of like that kind of more transactional pieces like you're talking about, especially in AEC and legal. Design is going to become even more important than it is now, or at least stay important. AI is not taking that away. And also, and not just strategic in the response, which is what I meant before, but also strategic in the way that you're speaking to your managing partners, to your CRO, to your CMO, whoever it is that you're reporting into at the highest level, to show that your team is a strategic lever, not a cost center. Is it those three main things, or is it's something else?
I would say those are three great takeaways. Yeah, absolutely. Like move pitch and proposal early in the process, make it collaborative along the whole capture or win process there, right from start to finish. Visually compelling documents are going to be more critical. Highly personalized documents, value-driven documents are going to be more critical. The process around that is going to be critical and AI-driven. And the transactional elements, eventually, we see moving kind of agent to agent.
I'm wondering if there's anything else that you are seeing, like from high-performing teams. Like, are high-performing teams doing anything different from maybe when you're having those conversations with those managing partners or CMOs, CROs, the ones that talk really highly about the proposal teams versus the one that don't have the highest opinion of the proposal teams? Are those doing anything differently from the lower performing ones?
Well, the highest performing ones that we see are data-driven in their approach to bidding, to proposals, to RFPs. They analyze everything. They understand what wins, what doesn't win, where the risks lie in these areas. They have very strong evaluation criteria, and they're a strategic part of that business development cycle. They're not kind of an add-on right at the end. Let's throw this over the fence to the RFP team to finish this thing up. They're built into that end-to-end process. So data-driven and collaborative, I would say, are the two key areas that we see strong performing business development and proposal teams.
Not surprising at all. I feel like there's so many takeaways that RP proposal teams can take away from this, of just how to improve in 2026, if that's one of their goals, or one of their New Year's resolutions. But Ray, like, this has been fantastic talking to you and just learning about you in QorusDocs. If legal AEC professional services teams haven't looked at you yet, like, what are you doing? Go look at QorusDocs. But say they resonate with what you're saying, where can they find you? Where can they find QorusDocs?
Yeah, so welcome to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. That's a great place for a personal connection. Otherwise, our website, www.QorusDocs.com. There's contact us buttons on those screens. And of course, contact us through Stargazy.
Yeah. Thanks, Ray. Yeah, and I can just say that Ray is incredibly personable. He's very nice. He's not going to be a CEO that will be mean to you. So go
are
reach
there mean
out.
CEOs out there?
No, most CEOs are like super nice. But Ray is one of them. Go contact QorusDocs, and I'll link everything down below. But it was lovely to talk to you, Ray.
Thank you, Chris. Such great questions. I really appreciate what you're doing in the proposal community, and thank you for having me on here today.
Yeah, thanks.